the last thing that I will say about the Marcus Freeman comments are let's read the room. Let's take a step back. Because he was the defense coordinator at Cincinnati in what year? 2020. He talks about Ohio State players or insinuating that Ohio State players only do online classes. Let's remember in 2020 what was happening in 2020, especially during the football season. What was hard? Players, did you want your players in class during 2020 for Cincinnati, or did you want them online, taking their classes online? I just want to know, because there was something going on in 2020 that I think a lot of college football coaches probably would have not want their players to be in person in 2020. And let's fast forward a year during football season during 2021, because there was some issues going on from what happened in 2020 still lingering with testing positive. Would you prefer your starting quarterback, Desmond Ridder, to be in person, in class, in person? I don't know. But what I will say is this. He's insinuating that Ohio State players have it a lot easier and that they are just beating and bucking the system, no pun intended in terms of Buckeyes, bucking the system, and academically they don't have to try or put in the effort. What I will say is this. At Ohio State, there is online options. And one thing that we have is synchronous and asynchronous courses. And as a college grad, I forget the difference between the two. But I will tell you this. One of them are live online courses and the other are doing whenever you want. Coach Freeman is trying to insinuate that Ohio State players only have courses where they can do them whenever you want, when in fact that is false. I was in class with student athletes during the time, and this still goes on a little bit. Obviously, Ohio State has moved back to a lot more in-person classes, but during the time, we had online classes with student athletes. They were live. Turn your camera on. I don't care who you are. You had to have your camera on at all times. So it's very cool, seeing like, hold up, is that he played for Ohio State? Is that him? His camera's on too. When we take tests, I don't know how Notre Dame does it, but we have this thing at Ohio State, which is very tough. It's called Proctorio. Now, the only proctor I like is Josh Proctor at Ohio State. He's going to have a great year for Ohio State. That's the only proctor a lot of Ohio State students mess with, especially, when I was going there. The only proctor we like is Josh Proctor. We have what you call Proctorio, which means you turn your camera on at the same time, and you're going to take your test at this time. So when your professor opens up the test at 3:15 p.m., you better start your test at 3:15 because it's going to close at 5 o'clock. And your camera must be on, and you have somebody watching you. So there are football players. We all got our cameras on. Everyone with your camera on is taking it. And then at times, and there for those do whatever you want courses, that also is an option. That also happens with Proctorio. So even if they're doing that, they're still having to be students. They still have to have their camera on, and someone's watching them take their test. So at Ohio State, getting around the system is impossible, and Ohio State still had a higher academic progress rate in their conference than Notre Dame, and we have people watching. You think a professor is going to be online letting a football player cheat while all the other students? You know how many students would be outraged as a student that was at that time? You think I would like seeing any athlete I had class with get to have their camera off during the test? No. You're going to have your camera on too, and the professors made sure that. So there was no bucking the system. Ohio State made sure that everyone had to go by the same rules, meaning your camera is on when you're taking them tests, and obviously in-person classes. And just when they're teaching, you have to have your camera on. You can't turn it off. So that there were players that went to class. I can't speak for all the players, but from the players I had with, they had to deal with the same things I went. Now, obviously, it differs by major. I don't know how every major does it. There's obviously some, online courses, but from the players I had class with and the students I had, we had to deal with the same stuff. And obviously, having, that camera on looking at you, if you look the wrong way, if you put your hand up too long, they're going to think you're cheating. You look away from the camera, your face is not in camera, they're going to think you're cheating. You look to your left too much, or you look to your right too much, you look up or down too much, they're going to think you're cheating. You go to the bathroom. So Proctorio is one of the hardest things to deal with. And Ohio State, again, still was rated higher than Notre Dame, Fighting Irish.